Well, Australia Day tomorrow, and what a day it is. A day when every Australian should feel unashamedly patriotic as we celebrate our country, our culture, and the men and women who before us paved the way so we can indeed enjoy those basic freedoms that so many people in what seems like most countries in the world these days can only dream of. Yeah, it's a day when we reflect on our past, but we also use it as a day when we look at our future and ask the question of ourselves, what do we want to become? I hear people talk about the past in this country like they were better days. You know, they talk about no political correctness, no ads driving us mad, telling us to be sun safe. You know, the days when you go to the pub, drink till you fell over and someone would pick you up, pour one more down your throat for the road. You know, they love to say, yep, this country's going to be stuffed in 20 years. Well, I mean, I'll be honest, that's complete and utter horseshit. We need to believe that Australia's best days are still ahead of her. Acknowledge and respect the past, but don't want for it. The past, as they say, is a completely different country. So what do we want Australia to be in 50 years? Or for that fact, what do we want Australia to represent to the world in 50 years, which will arrive in a blink of an eye? It's a real good time to ask the question. I mean, with the threat of terrorism, the temptations to shut our borders, close in, shut the door, withdraw from the world a step or two. But I mean, really, who are we kidding? We're the product of multiculturalism. That's who we are. I mean, what gives us the right now to decide to turn our backs on some poor bludger and his family fleeing horror in his homeland? I mean, my father-in-law, Tony Magno Cavallo, was Italian, born in Serra Capriola, a little town on the Adriatic Sea down Foggia way. Tony served in World War II, and he and his family, at the end of the war, like a lot of Italians, were left with nothing, zilch, not a zac. So he and my mother-in-law, Connie, decided to jump on a boat and head to some strange place called Australia. When they jumped on the boat, they didn't know where they were heading, where it was, or how long it was going to take to get there. Tony got a job as a cane cutter in Townsville, pretty tough joint Townsville, and the local Queensland blokes used to call him the Spag Eater, or Tony the Wog. But Tony worked hard, he was fair dinkum. He cut more cane than most blokes, and when Tony headed down to Newcastle a year or two later, he got a job at Ghanaian Steelworks. And just like in Townsville, he worked his arse off and shifted more than his quota of metal. So as a consequence, the Aussie blokes loved Tony. They loved his work ethic and even loved that strange food he brought for lunch. Tony and Connie, well, they were able to rebuild their lives in Australia. They had 7 kids and even owned a few houses. They gave up their Italian citizenship to become Aussies. And when Tony celebrated his birthday, he didn't celebrate the day he entered the world back in Foggia. Tony's new birthday was the day that he became an Australian citizen. He once said to me, Matty, he said, this is the greatest country in the world because if you're willing to work hard, you can have absolutely everything you want. The Chinese, the Vietnamese, the Lebanese, the Tongans, the Russians, the Prussians, the Poms, the Poles, the Irish, the Greeks, the Japanese, the Sudanese. Yep, even the Kiwis. They've all come, they've stayed, and they've made this joint better. And you know what? As long as they're fair dinkum, we should welcome them with open arms. I know what you're thinking, and you're right. We don't live in fairyland. Amongst those who come with great intentions are those who arrive with little regard for our laws, our culture, and various freedoms. It's like some carry war with them and seem intent on continuing the battle here. For some reason, they see us as the enemy. Bad eggs. But we shouldn't judge the many on these very few, and let's not let fear and suspicion take over the better part of ourselves. In fact, let the way we live our lives shame the way they conduct theirs. So happy Australia Day, everyone, and don't listen to the wankers who say it's ugly to drape yourself in the Aussie flag. If you want to do it, just do it. But make sure when you do it, you do yourself, your family, the country, and that flag tied around your neck proud. Have a good one.